Good morning and welcome to Real Talk with Claudia. I'm your host, Claudia Ellis with Claudia's Decor. And today we are talking about collaboration versus competition. I just want you to know that this is one of the things that not only have I learned and lived, but I also believe in it. I believe that there's healthy competition. I believe that there's fantastic collaboration. And just because we're doing the same thing doesn't mean that we can't grow together. Good morning, Miss Wendy. Good morning. Monarch by Marisol. I like that name on Etsy. I love that name, Marisol. I love that. I want to talk about competition versus collaboration, or collaboration versus competition, however you want to look at it. Not from a place of frustration, but from a place of growth, because I've seen both sides. I've experienced what it feels like when collaboration doesn't feel good. And I've experienced what it feels like when it's exactly what you needed. Because here's the truth. Collaboration isn't just about being in a group. It's about being in the right group. I've been in spaces where support didn't feel equal. The energy felt off, and I found myself questioning things I shouldn't have to question. Is this collaboration or is it something else? Collaboration is not feeling like you have to earn your place, feeling confused about where you stand, feeling drained every time you leave the room, feeling like support is inconsistent. Confusion is not collaboration. When you're in the right space, support feels natural, not forced. People celebrate you without hesitation. You don't question their intentions. You feel encouraged, not drained. Real collaboration feels like expansion, not exhaustion. I knew that I needed to build the community that I needed because I wasn't finding a community that fit me and my needs. There was a point that I knew that if I didn't build the community that I needed, then I wasn't going to grow the way that I wanted to grow. I was in spaces, I was showing up, I was supporting, but something was missing. It was surface level connection, and I wanted depth. And if you know me, I'm not a surface level person. I go deep. That's how I'm wired. That's my giftedness. I don't fake well. And I don't do shallow well. I want real. So I started thinking, what if I created the kind of community I wanted to belong to? That idea didn't come from confidence, it came from need. But I questioned it. Do I really want to put myself out there like that? Do I want to carry the responsibility of knowing what community can become? Because I had already seen both sides of community. I had seen how beautiful it can be, and I had seen how messy it can get. We expect adults to act like adults, and they don't always. So I wrestled with it longer than people probably realized. I didn't jump into it lightly, I fought it. But I couldn't shake it. It just kept coming back. Like, this is something you're supposed to do. So I threw caution to the wind and I built it anyway. Not because I had it all figured out, but because I knew what I needed. And in the beginning, it was everything I hoped it would be. Connection, support, people showing up. It felt right. But over time, people showed their true colors. Because you can only fake who you are for so long. And when friction came, not everyone handled it the same way. Instead of talking to each other, they talked about each other. And that's where things started to shift. And that's where I had to stand firm in who I am. I don't do gossip. If they're not in the room, we're not talking about them. And here's the truth I had to learn. Just because something isn't working doesn't mean it was wrong to build it. Sometimes it's not the community that's wrong. It's the mix of people. And over time, the wrong people will remove themselves. And that's not loss, that's alignment. And here's something I had to learn about myself. My depth, my desire for real connection, that's not something you give to everybody. That level of trust, that level of support, that's for a few, not for the whole. Not because the whole doesn't matter, but because not everyone is meant to carry that level of closeness. And that's why people have what they call a wreath bestie, because they understand two people building together, thinking together, refining each other, that's powerful because you're better together, but not with everybody. And it's not about who's better. It's about sharpening each other, growing together, thinking differently, but moving forward together. Two people can shine in the same space. There's no limit on that. There's no competition in that. Think about hosting a dinner. Not just any dinner, but the kind of dinner you've always wished someone would invite you to. You set the table with intention. You prepare the food with care. You create an atmosphere that feels warm, safe, and welcoming. And people come. At first, it's everything you hoped for. There's laughter, connection, conversation. But over time, you start to notice things. Some people are talking over others. Some are whispering instead of being honest. Some are bringing an energy that doesn't match what you built. And you have that moment where you think, did I do something wrong? But then you realize the table wasn't wrong. The invitation wasn't wrong. The vision wasn't wrong. Not everyone who sat down was meant to stay. I built the table, but I can't control how people show up at it. The table wasn't the problem. The mix was. Not everyone invited is assigned to stay. Some people come to experience and not to contribute. I still believe in collaboration. I still believe in community. But what I've learned is collaboration only works with the right people. And when those people are building for the right reasons in the right way. And because of all of that, I had to learn some things about people, about collaboration, about competition. And that's what I want to share with you next. What the experience taught me about real collaboration, that experience forced me to really ask, what is collaboration really? Because I thought I knew until I experienced what it wasn't. Collaboration is not just being in the same space. You can be in the same room, the same live, the same group, and not be building together at all. Collaboration is about alignment, not proximity. It's not about being near people. It's about being aligned with how they think, how they show up, and how they treat others. It's mutual, or it's not collaboration. If it's one-sided, if one person is always pouring in to the others and the others are just receiving, that's not collaboration. It should feel natural, not forced. You shouldn't have to work to make it feel like you belong in collaboration. It requires honesty, not talking about each other, but being able to talk to each other. It requires trust, and trust takes time. You don't walk in and immediately have a deep connection which would cause you to collaborate. That's built. It requires consistency. People show you who they are in how they show up over time, not in one moment. And it requires the ability to celebrate each other. If someone can't celebrate you, they can't collaborate with you. Real collaboration expands you. It gives you new ideas, new perspective, new energy. It doesn't drain you. And here's the biggest thing I learned. Not everyone knows how to collaborate. Imagine two people trying to row a boat together. They're sitting side by side. They both have oars. But one is rowing forward and the other is rowing sideways, or not rowing at all. From the outside, it looks like they're working together, but the boat isn't moving the way it should. Not because rowing doesn't work, because they're not moving in the same direction. We were in the same boat, but not rowing the same way. Just because someone is beside you doesn't mean they're building with you. Collaboration requires direction, not just presence. Collaboration is powerful, but only when it's real. And once I understood what collaboration actually is, I also had to face something else. Just because you're not competing doesn't mean no one is. This was a hard one for me to accept because I don't operate from competition. I stay in my own lane. I focus on what I'm building and what I'm doing and how I'm growing. But I had to learn that doesn't mean everyone else does. When you start having somebody poke at you, dig at you, say things about you, and you don't understand why, it's that competition, that passive aggressiveness, that type of stuff that happens. Good morning, Janine. Is it Janine? I want to say your name right. Good morning. I had to learn, good morning, Maria. I had to learn that doesn't mean everyone else does. They don't stay in their own lane. They see you as competition. They can't stand that people naturally are drawn to you, right? You can be building peacefully and still be seen as competition. And that has nothing, hear me loud and clear, that has nothing to do with you. Competition often comes from insecurity. When someone doesn't feel secure in what they're doing, they start measuring against others. It shows up in subtle ways: comments, energy shifts, lack of support. You feel it before you can explain it. I know that you've gone through this. I know that you've gone through this in your own personal relationships. I know you understand what I'm saying. And if you're not paying attention, you'll miss it. But here's what I learned. I don't have to participate in that. I don't have to compete to grow. And I don't have to shrink to make someone else comfortable. Their competition is not my assignment. Isn't that good? Their competition is not my assignment. And the thing is that there's healthy competition. Candy, I could write a book. I'm saying. But here, think of it this way. You're walking down a path, focusing on where you're going. You're steady, you're moving forward, and someone walking beside you keeps looking at you instead of the path, adjusting their steps, changing their pace, trying to keep up or get ahead. Eventually, they stumble, not because the path was hard, but because they weren't focused on their own steps. Right? I was walking, they were watching. I stayed focused, they stayed distracted. I didn't enter the race, but they did. I learned I don't have to compete. Even if someone else thinks we are. And that's when I had to really understand the difference between healthy competition and toxic competition. When competition creeps in, it doesn't stay hidden. I didn't set out to build a competitive space, but it showed up anyway. That wasn't the vision. That wasn't the intention. But just because you don't build it that way doesn't mean it won't try to come in. And it didn't show up loud. It showed up subtle. It wasn't obvious at first. It wasn't arguments or blow-ups. It was little things. It showed up in energy before it showed up in words. You could feel it shift in the room, even if nobody said anything out loud yet. It showed up in who celebrated and who stayed quiet. When someone wins, you learn a lot about the people around you. It showed up in conversations that weren't happening in the right place. Instead of talking to each other, people started talking about each other. And that will break anything. And that's where I had to draw the line. I'm not building a space where we tear each other down behind the scenes. That's not what this is. Because once that starts, trust starts to break. And once trust is broken, everything else follows. And here's what I saw clearly. Competition doesn't just stay internal. It changes behavior. People stop showing up the same. They pull back. They act different. The energy shifts and you can feel it. And eventually it creates division. Not because that was the goal, but because that's the outcome when people aren't aligned. And that's when I had to understand something as a leader. I can create the space, but I can't control how everyone chooses to show up in it. And I also had to accept this. Not everyone who starts with you is meant to continue with you. Good morning, Miss Courtney. All right, so let's think about this as a garden. You plant a garden, you prepare the soil, you choose the seeds carefully. You water it, you tend to it, and you protect it. And at first, everything starts growing. But over time, weeds start to show up. Not because you planted them, not because you wanted them, but because that's what happens in any environment where things are growing. And if you ignore them, they don't just sit there, they spread. They take up space. They start pulling nutrients away from what you actually planted. And you have a choice. You either address it or you let it take over. See, I planted a garden. I didn't plant weeds. Growth attracts both fruit and friction. Ignoring it doesn't protect it. It weakens it. Not everything growing belongs there. I learned that competition, when it's not healthy, doesn't just stay quiet. It changes the environment. And if you don't address it, it will change the environment. But here's the thing, not all competition is bad, because there's a version of it that actually makes you better. Healthy competition doesn't divide us, it develops us. After seeing what unhealthy competition can do, I had to ask myself a real question. Is all competition bad? Because if we're honest, a lot of us hear the word competition and immediately put it into a negative category. We think jealousy, we think comparison, we think division, we think somebody trying to outdo somebody else. But I had to sit with that and realize not all competition is toxic. Some competition is actually what wakes something up in you. I had to learn the difference between competition that comes from insecurity and competition that comes from growth. One kind of competition says, I need to beat you so I can feel better about me. That's hard because I don't do that. I don't understand that. But the healthy kind says, seeing what's possible in you makes me want to work on me. That's completely different. It's a completely different spirit. Same word, different heart. Right, Maria? Good competition is not controlling or confusing. Right, Candy? Healthy competition doesn't make me look at your plate and resent it. It makes me look at my own plate and ask what I can do with what I have. Right, Wendy? The first kind is foreign to you, right? Me too. That's where maturity comes in. The healthy competition part is where maturity comes in. Instead of being bothered by what someone else has built, what they've sold, how much attention they're getting, or what opportunities are opening up for them, healthy competition asks, what can I learn? What can I improve? What am I not seeing yet in my own process? The wrong kind of competition makes you obsessed with people. The healthy kind makes you committed to growth. When competition is unhealthy, you're watching people. You're measuring people. You're analyzing people. You're irritated by people. But when it's healthy, you're not fixated on who's ahead. You're focused on how you can become better, stronger, wiser, clearer, more disciplined. Healthy competition asks better questions. It doesn't ask why them and not me. It asks what are they doing that I can learn from. It doesn't ask how do I beat them. It asks how do I become better than I was last month, last year, last season. So it's self-focused. That shift right there changes everything. Everything. If someone else's growth irritates me, that's not information about them. That's information about me. That's a hard truth, but it's a necessary one, because sometimes what bothers us is not the person, it's what their progress reveals in us. Right, Maria? Their consistency may reveal our inconsistency. Their courage may reveal where we're still hiding. Their success may reveal where we've stopped pushing ourselves. And that doesn't make us bad people, but it does mean we have inner work to do. Healthy competition can sharpen you without hardening you. You can be challenged without becoming cold. You can be motivated without becoming jealous. You can respect somebody's success admire their discipline and let it fuel your own effort without making them your enemy. That is a grown way to live. For me, healthy competition became less about who is doing better than me and more about whether I am still growing. That's where I had to come home to myself. Not am I ahead of her or him, not am I getting what they're getting, but am I still stretching? Am I still learning? Am I still refining? Am I still becoming? Because that's the competition that actually matters. I do not need to be another woman or man to prove I'm valuable. That's huge. I don't need to outperform somebody else to justify my place. I don't need to outshine you to know I carry light. I don't need to knock you down to know I belong in the room. That mindset is what keeps competition healthy. Right, friends? Healthy competition makes room for admiration. It lets you say, that was good. That was smart. That was beautiful. That was strong. Hi, Irene. And instead of shrinking because somebody else did something well, you let it expand your idea of what's possible. That is such a healthy way to move forward through life and business. The best competition I found is competing with the version of me that wanted to stay comfortable. That version of me that wanted to play small, not try, not stretch, not risk, not be seen. That's the version I want to outrun. That's the race. Not against another creator, not against another business owner, against stagnation, against fear, against the version of me that would settle. When competition is healthy, nobody has to lose for somebody else to win. That's the beauty of it. We can both grow. We can all grow. We can both get sharper. We can both improve. We can both shine. Healthy competition does not require casualties, but it does require maturity. Here's another way of looking at it. Two women training in the same gym. They both walk in with a goal. They both want to get stronger. The first one spends all her time looking around. What is she lifting? How fast is she improving? Why does she already know what she's doing? Why does everybody notice her? The second woman notices people too, but she uses what she sees differently. Instead of comparing, she pays attention. Instead of resenting, she learns. Instead of spiraling, she trains. Months later, one woman is emotionally exhausted and discouraged. The other is stronger, steadier, and more confident. Same gym, same opportunity, different mindset. One used the room to compare, the other used the room to grow. Is this hitting with anybody? Is anybody seeing this for what it is, how we see things? Irene says competition should be about sharing, learning from one another, having fun. Yes. Yes. And we got a boom in the room. And Marisol said yes. So same room, different spirit. One compared, one developed. What do you do with what you see matters. Healthy competition does not make enemies. It makes effort. Competition is not always the thing that hurts us. Sometimes it's the thing that reveals whether we're rooted in insecurity or rooted in growth. And once I understood that healthy competition can actually develop us, it made me see something even more clearly. The right people will never make your growth feel threatening. I know, Maria, it is a very sensitive topic. It is a very sensitive topic, but I wouldn't be a good leader. I'm going to call myself a leader. I wouldn't be a good leader in this community if we didn't talk about the hard things, because I know why certain people don't put themselves into communities or don't put themselves in room with others, is because they don't feel supported. They don't feel seen. They don't feel like they have, the right things that are needed or are getting the right things. So that's why I've learned a lot in actually leading a community. And I have to share what I learned. I have to, because I had to start from the ground up after 2 years. I had to completely start over. And that's okay. It didn't mean that I didn't build a good community. It meant that the community that was built, the people that were there, weren't ready for that type of community. And that's what I had to learn. So it's one of those, buckle up, Buttercup. We are on this road together. All right. We still got some stuff to talk about. So let's dig back in. The right people will celebrate you, not secretly compete with you. This is where we talk about being in the right room. Break out the Roundup for those weeds. There we go, Wendy. I'm telling you, these stories are hitting. One of the biggest lessons I've learned is that everybody around you is not for you in the same way. That doesn't mean everybody's evil. That doesn't mean everybody has bad intentions. But it does mean you need to stop assuming all support is equal, all closeness is equal, and all connection is equal, because it's not. My girl is in here. This is exactly right for what I have going on. This is incredible. I love that. That's my kid, guys. That's my kid. There is a real difference between people who are inspired by your growth and people who are unsettled by it. And if you pay attention, you can feel it. One person sees you growing and it pulls something higher out of them. Another sees you growing and it stirs up comparison, insecurity, or irritation. Same success, different internal response. The right people do not need your light to dim so theirs can feel bright. That is such a huge marker of emotional maturity. People who are grounded in who they are do not panic when you shine. They don't feel erased by your success. They don't feel robbed by your visibility. They know your light is not stealing theirs. The right people celebrate you in a way that feels clean. There's no weirdness, no tension in it, no hesitation, no backhandedness in it, no pause where you wonder if they really mean it. When somebody is genuinely for you, it has peace on it. You can tell a lot about a person by how they respond when it's your turn. It's easy to be kind in neutral moments. It's easy to be present when nothing much is happening. But when doors start opening for you, when your name starts being mentioned, when people start connecting with what you carry, that reveals something. People show themselves when it's your turn. That's true, and it hurts, and it's awful, especially when you spend so much time with people and they can't celebrate you the same way you celebrate them. But I'll tell you what, be true to you. Listen to your heart. Listen to that discernment. When something doesn't feel right, you are right. That's your gut. And your gut does not lie to you. The right people will see you and be inspired by you, yes. The right people don't just clap in front of you. They speak well behind your back too. That matters because public support is nice, but private integrity is everything. The people you want close are the ones who say your name with honor, even when you're not in the room. Some people are attached to you because of access. The right people are attached to you because of connection. That's a huge difference. Some people want proximity. They want to be near what you carry, near what you know, near your audience, near your energy. But that does not automatically mean they care about you. The right people care about you, not just what comes with you. When you're around the right people, you stop second guessing everything. You stop wondering what was meant by that comment. You stop reading into energy shift. You stop feeling like you have to prove your heart, defend your motives, or earn basic support. Healthy connection does not keep you in confusion. The right people make growth feel safer. They don't make you afraid to share your wins. They don't make you want to hide your progress so nobody gets uncomfortable. They don't punish you emotionally for growing. They actually make it easier for you to keep becoming. I have learned to pay close attention to whether someone leaves me feeling peace or leaving me feeling like I need to shrink. That's one of the clearest indicators for me now. The right people do not make me feel like I need to become less so they can feel okay. They make me feel safe enough to keep becoming more. Real support has generosity in it. Not fake generosity, not performance generosity, real generosity. The kind that shares, uplifts, recommends, encourages, and genuinely wants to see good happen for you because they understand that your win is not their loss. The right people are not keeping score. They're not tallying every compliment, every opportunity, every invite, every sale, every follower, every mention. They're not secretly running numbers in their head. They are rooted enough to be present without scorekeeping. It's like having a room full of candles. One candle is lit first, then another, then another. And every time one candle lights another, the room gets brighter. Now imagine one candle deciding, if she shines, I must be losing something. That candle has misunderstood the whole point of light. The purpose of light is not to prove who burns best. The purpose of light is to illuminate the room. That's what the right people understand. Your flame does not threaten them. It helps the whole room see better. Your light does not take away from mine. The goal was never to outshine each other. The goal was to light the room. The right people do not panic when it's your turn. Celebration has peace on it. When people are truly for you, your growth does not create tension between you. It creates testimony. It reminds everybody what is possible. And once I understood that not everybody is meant to be close, I also had to understand this. Some of the deepest, healthiest collaborations will never happen with the whole crowd. It will happen with a trusted few. Are we getting this, guys? Are we picking this up? This is coming from what I've learned, from what I've lived, and from what I'm continuing to grow forward. I remember there was a time when something that I put so much heart and soul in, and it fell apart. It would tear me up. I would totally take it all upon myself. And I've learned through a lot of heartache and a lot of tears that I only have this person to control. This is all I can control. My actions, my reactions, how I learn, how I process. Self-work is so important, especially when you're trying to build a business. It's not easy. Building a business is not easy, and it's lonely, so incredibly lonely. And that's why I continue to tell you guys, you need to be in community with the right people. Find the right table. Find the right community. Find where you can grow, where you can build, where you feel safe. Okay? And it's okay to keep looking, to try out different things. It's okay. Because you need to find the right place so that you can all grow. Okay? Why we need a trusted few. The power of deep, aligned connection. This is where I'm going to share what people call their wreath bestie. If you look at some of the creators that have really grown and really continued to be in this for years, even decades, they have people in their corner. They have surrounded themselves with like-minded people, with people that they can grow with. Okay? I've had to learn that I am not a surface level person, and that affects how I view community. I go deep. I care deeply. I take trust seriously. I take support seriously. I take connection seriously. That's part of how I'm made, and that's a gift. But it also means I had to learn not everybody gets access to that depth. One of the biggest things I've learned is that the whole community cannot carry what only a few were meant to hold. That does not make the whole community unimportant. It just means there are layers. There's the wider circle, and then there are the trusted few. And if you try to expect deep covenant kind of support from everybody, you will end up disappointed. There is a difference between community support and deep relational support. A community can encourage you. A community can cheer for you. A community can offer inspiration and belonging. But those truly deep places, the places where somebody really gets you, really knows your process, really understands the weight you carry, that's different. That is why so many creators end up with what they call a wreath bestie. Because there is something powerful about having one person or a very small number of people who understand the behind the scenes, the pressure, the ideas, the growth, the fear, the business side, the emotional side, someone who really gets it. You are often better together, but not with everybody. That line matters because I still fully believe in collaboration. I just no longer believe collaboration means full access for everybody. Some people can support you from a distance. Some people can celebrate you from the crowd. And some people are assigned to build closely with you. Those are not the same roles. A trusted few can refine you in ways a crowd never can. A crowd can applaud. A trusted few can correct, sharpen, challenge, and strengthen you. A crowd can say, that looks great. A trusted few can say, I know what you're trying to do. Let's make it stronger. That kind of relationship is precious. Deep alignment means you can both shine in the same place without making it weird. That's such a marker of health. We can both be gifted. We can both be visible. We can both create beautiful work. We can both bring something valuable. And it does not have to come with competition or comparison. That kind of connection is rare and beautiful. The right close relationship help refine you, not replace you. They don't make you feel like you have to become them. They don't swallow your identity. They don't copy your essence and call it connection. Real aligned friendship sharpens you into more of who you are, not less. I had to learn that trust is sacred, and because it's sacred, it cannot be rushed. I cannot hand over deep trust just because somebody is nearby, friendly, talented, or present. Trust is built over time through consistency, through integrity, through how someone handles both your vulnerability and your visibility. The trusted few are not just people who like you. They are people who can steward your heart well. That means they know how to hold confidence, how to celebrate without envy, how to tell the truth without cruelty, how to challenge you without control, and how to support you without making everything about themselves. And that has been one of the biggest lessons. Not everyone gets the deepest version of me. That's not bitterness. That's wisdom. That's stewardship. That's maturity. I can still love people. I can still welcome people. I can still lead people. But depth belongs where trust has been proven. When you find those right few, collaboration becomes something beautiful. It becomes sharpening. It becomes brainstorming. It becomes truth-telling. It becomes support. It becomes the kind of thing that reminds you, you are not doing this alone. And that is powerful. Let's picture a large tree in a field, okay? Many birds can sit on its branches. Many people can admire its shade. Many can benefit from its presence. But its deepest support does not come from what is resting on the outside. Its deepest support comes from its root system underground. And roots are not hold on a second. Let me not fumble my words. And roots are not loud, visible things. They are deep, hidden, trusted connections that hold the tree steady when storms come. That's how I see it now. The whole tree matters. The whole field matters. The whole environment matters. But stability, that comes from the deep places, from the roots. The crowd can cheer, but the roots hold. Not everybody belongs underground with the roots. Depth is a gift, and that gift requires stewardship. Better together, yes, but not deeply with everybody. One of the healthiest things I've learned is this: community matters, but trusted depth belongs to a few. And when you find those few, everything changes. Everything changes. And all of this brought me to another lesson I learned: how to protect peace without closing my heart. One of the biggest things I had to learn through all of this was how to protect my peace. Because when you've been in spaces where things didn't feel right, it's easy to swing the other way and just shut down. But that's not growth. That's defense. Hi, Miss Veronica. Protecting your peace is not the same as closing your heart. I'm still open. I still believe in people. I still believe in collaboration. I just don't give the same access to everybody anymore. I had to learn that boundaries are not rejection. That's their clarity, their structure. They're what allows something healthy to actually exist. Not everyone needs full access to you to benefit from you. People can learn from you, be encouraged by you, be supported by you without being in your inner circle. I stopped over explaining myself. I don't have to justify every decision, every boundary, every step I take. That was a big shift for me. You can't unlock your gate for just anyone. Yes, Maria. Yes. I stopped feeling responsible for how people interpret me. That was heavy because I used to want to make sure everyone understood my heart. Now I know my consistency will speak for itself. The things I heard, the perceptions I heard about me, about thinking that I was something I'm not, or a way that I was that I'm not. And I had to learn and realize that didn't have anything to do with me. That was a reflection of them. But it took me a while to learn that. And I'm so grateful I'm on this side of it now. I learned to move differently without becoming someone different. I didn't lose who I am. I just became more aware of how I show up and where I place myself. Peace became my indicator. If it feels heavy, confusing, draining, that's information. If it feels calm, clear, aligned, that's information too. I gave myself permission to step back without making it a big thing. Everything doesn't need a conversation. Everything doesn't need an explanation. Sometimes you just shift. Veronica, you said I struggled with that and now I own my peace. Let me tell you something. There's something different about that. People that can figure that out for themselves, they just show up differently. So I applaud you for that. Protecting your peace is part of protecting your purpose. If I'm constantly drained, confused, or distracted, I can't build what I'm called to build. And I realized I don't have to attend every room I'm invited to either. I don't have to show up just because I was invited. I don't. If it's going to drain me, if it's going to take away from my reason, my purpose, my building, I don't have to show up. I don't have to stretch myself, right? And I realized peace is not something I'm willing to trade anymore. I'm not willing to trade my peace anymore. And I think Maria said something that's similar to the story I'm about to share. Okay, so you have a house. Okay, so you're picturing a house. At first, your door is wide open. Anyone can come in, sit down, stay as long as they want. And over time, you start to notice. Not everyone treats your space with care. Not everyone respects what you've built. Not everyone leaves things the way they found them. So you don't stop having a house, right? You don't stop inviting people, but you add something, a door. And then maybe you lock it. And then maybe you become more intentional about who you hand a key to. The house didn't change. Your heart didn't change. Your wisdom did. I didn't close the house. I just got intentional with the keys. Access changed, but not who I am. Peace is worth protecting. I can be open and still be wise. I didn't become closed off. I became intentional. And once I understood how to protect my peace, I had to take one step further. I had to take ownership of who I was in the room with. This is not about blame. This is about growth, self-awareness, and integrity. After everything I experienced, I had to stop focusing on what everyone else was doing and ask myself, who was I being in those spaces? Because it's easy to point out what didn't feel right. It's harder to sit with how you showed up inside of it. I had to ask myself, was I showing up as the kind of person I would want to build with? Not just talented, not just present, but consistent, honest, supportive, grounded. Was I giving the kind of support I was hoping to receive? Not just when it was easy, but when it cost me something, time, attention, energy. Was I celebrating people fully? Or was I acknowledging them? Was I just acknowledging them? There's a difference between good job and genuinely being happy for someone. Was I showing up with clean energy or carrying things I hadn't dealt with? Because sometimes what we feel in a room isn't just them. It's also what we're bringing in with us. Was I expecting depth from people I hadn't built trust with yet? That was a big one for me. I go deep, but that doesn't mean everyone is ready or able to meet me there immediately. I had to learn that not everyone is meant to meet me at my level of depth, and that's okay. That doesn't make them wrong. It just means I needed to place my expectations in the right places. I had to stop expecting the whole room to carry what only a few people were meant to carry. I had to recognize that my depth is a gift, but it also requires discernment. Because if I give it to everyone, I will feel drained. If I place it where it's valued, it becomes powerful. Growth for me wasn't just about seeing others clearly. It was about seeing myself clearly and adjusting where I needed to adjust without losing who I am. I didn't become less open. I became more aware. And the awareness changed how I build, how I connect, and how I lead. Maria, I appreciate your support. So you're standing in front of a mirror. At first, you're focused on everything around you. Who's behind you? What's happening in the room? What others are doing? But eventually, you have to look directly at yourself. And the mirror doesn't judge you. It doesn't attack you. It just shows you what's there. And in that moment, you have a choice. You can ignore it, or you can adjust what needs to be adjusted. That's what growth it really is. Not tearing yourself down, but being honest enough to refine yourself. I had to look in the mirror, not just around the room. My growth didn't come from pointing. It came from reflecting. Awareness changed everything. I didn't lose myself. I refined myself. I stopped asking, where are my people? And started asking, Am I building in a way that the right people can actually find me? And when I brought it all together, this is what I landed on. This is what I know now about collaboration, competition, and community. After everything I've walked through, this is what I know now. I don't have to guess anymore. I don't have to wonder anymore. I've lived enough, seen enough, and grown enough to stand on this. I still believe in collaboration fully. Not the fake version, not the forced version, the real version, the one that actually builds something meaningful. But I also understand now collaboration requires wisdom. It's not just about opening the door, it's about knowing who you're building with. I've learned that not everyone is meant to build with me, and that's okay. I've learned that I can be kind and still be discerning. I don't have to harden to grow. I just have to become aware. I've learned that I can believe in people without giving everyone full access to me. That's not rejection, that's stewardship. I've learned that competition is not my enemy. Misaligned hearts are. I've learned to recognize the difference between someone who is building with me and someone who is measuring themselves against me. I've learned that the right people don't make me question myself. They don't create confusion. They don't create tension. They don't create that feeling like something is off. I've learned that real collaboration feels like peace. I've learned that growth doesn't require me to do this alone. And it doesn't require me to fight for space either. And I've learned this, maybe most importantly, I don't have to shrink to stay connected, and I don't have to compete to belong. Imagine building something, not by yourself, but with the right people. Everyone knows their role. Everyone respects the process. Everyone shows up with intention. There's no tension about who's better. There's no quiet competition underneath. There's no pulling things apart when nobody's looking. There's trust. There's clarity. There's alignment. And because of that, what gets built actually stands. Not because it was perfect, because it was built the right way. Again, the table wasn't wrong. The mix was. I didn't stop believing in community. I got wiser about it. I still believe we're better together, just not with everybody. Collaboration is powerful when it's real. So in closing, just remember, collaboration over competition is real, but it's not automatic. It's intentional. It requires the right people with the right mindset, building the right way. And when you find that, you don't just grow faster, you grow stronger, you grow wiser, and you build something that actually lasts. And if you're still looking for that kind of community, don't stop. Build it, be it, and trust that the right people will find you. I hope this really spoke to people today. I really hope that you feel seen and heard, and that you understand that you're not alone, but don't quit. Don't quit growing. Focus on yourself. You can't change others, but you can have self-awareness and know what you can bring to the table. and know what you have to offer. So if you don't find the community that works for you, be brave enough to build it yourself, to build a community that you want yourself, even if it falls apart, because that happened to me. Even if it falls apart, because it happened to me. So just know that before I wrap this up, I want to tell you what's coming next. Okay, next week, Real Talk will be on a Wednesday because I'm traveling the weekend. So Real Talk will be on a Wednesday. Thank you. And we're talking about habits of a successful creator, okay? We're going to break down what actually moves the needle, not just what sounds good. And if you've been listening to this and thinking, this is the kind of community I've been looking for, I've built that. It's called the Crafted Collab Network. It's not surface level, it's real community, answering real questions with people who actually come alongside you as you build your dream business. If that's something that you're needing, I'd love to have you there. Come check it out, even if you just try it for a little while. It could be exactly what you're looking for. And I welcome you with open arms. The other community that I'm actually a part of is the Double Troublemakers. When all of this happened, when my group fell apart and everything else happened, I reached out to my friend Courtney. She has been my friend from the beginning. Her and I have a connection that I can't explain. It's that sister, big sister, little sister thing. But when I told her that I needed trouble back in my life, she welcomed me home. She's like, come on in. So just know that there are communities out there. There are several communities out there that are exactly what you need when you're growing. Okay? When you're growing. So don't change who you are because something didn't work out. Adjust, what is it? Lick your wounds and just pick up. I say gather up your toys. Gather up all your toys in the sandbox and just go to another sandbox. Go to another table because there's enough room out here for everyone. And you do belong. You do belong. You belong in one of these communities that are growing and thriving and welcoming you in. But you have to be a good community member too. You need to participate. You need to take a risk. Without risk, there's no reward. And you will find your people. No weeds. Wendy's like, it's not about the weeds. And you're right. It's not about the weeds. But with that, I'm going to say have a great weekend. I hope you all have things that you're focusing on. This weekend, I'm participating in a rather large event. There's 17 designers. This weekend, Troublemaker Community over on Facebook. It's a free community. Go ahead and join it. Watch the creators that are creating it's called Freedom Fest. And we're all creating items that are country pride. And I say country because there are Canadians joining us. So have a fantastic weekend. I will be live tomorrow in the Troublemaker community on Facebook at 3 p.m. Central Time. So come check us out, come join us, and come watch people that you may not know in the community. Several people are going live for the first time and they're putting themselves out there. So come cheer them on. And again, if you have any questions, if you want to talk, if you want to share, I'm always available. And if there's something that you want me to bring to these Real Talks, let me know. And if you are a creator in this community, there's always a chance for you to come share your story. I would be happy to interview you. But until next time, have a fantastic weekend.